So let's move on a little bit to the success you've had at Red Bull Hardline. Um, you know, Red Bull Hardline. I've been and watched you there quite a few times. I wouldn't, and no disrespect to you at all, Joe. Here, like I'd be 100% the same as your approach to it, but I wouldn't be able to do it. But you don't you've got mega high skill level on the bike, but you're not probably as confident or uh, wild as some of the other guys that do Red Bull Hardline. But you are able to put down consistent runs to be on the podium all the time there. Um, what's your sort of and you've done that from the start, from the event, and obviously you've done it every year, so you've built the confidence there. But tell us a bit more about Hardline and why you think you've been successful at that, because every year you can be up against some incredible World Cup downhill riders and you just beat them no problem.
Yeah, it's a weird one, Hardline. I remember the first year we did it. Me and Mike went. I wasn't really that interested in doing it. I think they were trying to get Sam to do it, weren't they? But Sam didn't want to do it. So
Yeah.
you were like, oh, get Mike and Joe to do it. And Gaz was sending me pictures of the road gap, and I was just shitting myself.
Yeah.
And then even we walked the track, and then first run down, Mike had his huge crash, and it was.
He was following Bondi, wasn't he?
I think he was following Dan or G. I think it was like a train of like Dan and G, then Mike, and then me. And he just got kicked funny off something weird, like a little, well, felt like a big step down at the time, but it's miniature compared to anything.
Wasn't it on the big, massive metal kicker?
So it was like there's like the gap, the step down before that, as you're coming out of the trees.
Oh, I thought
Uh,
it was on the kicker, and I thought Bondi whipped it, and Mike just straight aired it and just went over the bars. I thought it was that
that
jump.
was that was a couple of years later. The next year, Mike did it, so he got one jump further down the track.
Ah, right. I don't even remember the first year.
The first time, yeah, literally first practice run, and
Oh
just
God.
huge. And do you remember his hand swelled up like a
Yeah,
balloon?
yeah,
Yeah,
because we were saying he looked like he had a marigold on that you'd blown up.
yeah.
Yeah,
He went so far, like ragdolled down the hill. I thought he was game over, like that. So yeah, that one didn't start too successfully, and then I crashed actually on what was before the metal ramp. I followed G off it, and G bailed in front of me.
yeah, I
I,
remember that.
I'd never bailed before in my entire life. When I tried to bail, I landed backwards and like went backwards into a rock. and um, and then I remember Owen trying to fix my bike for ages after that, and
Yeah,
kind of missed a bit of practice. And the first year was just sketchy.
yeah, everyone was crashing everywhere, weren't they?
There was only like 7 people who actually raced or something in the end. And,
Yeah,
I think I just missed out on the podium. There I was fourth, but like Bruni was third.
yeah,
Danny
yeah,
won it, and
yeah.
Afi was second, I think. So some top guys. And then, like you say, like kind of keeping going every year after that, eventually till now is it must have helped my confidence a little bit. I'm still scared every time I go,
I bet.
but I can look back and be like, well, I've done it all before. All
Yeah,
these different sketchy scenarios in like really crazy weather and stuff like that. I've done it all before. And
yeah,
even if they had something new, it's only a couple of features maybe on the whole track, and then I can kind of tell myself I've already done the other ones before. But I'm
yeah.
still nervous every jump up there. Really I'm nervous doing it for the first time, and all the way through the week really. And then usually at some point it all starts clicking, and then I start trying to go fast,
Mhm.
and trying to link it all together. And I honestly don't know what it is, why I've done well there, especially why I kind of still managed to go well there now, competing against people like you say who are still racing World Cups week in, week out. Um,
I think it's definitely I've never done it, so I can't say. But from watching it, it looks like it's it's a lot more. There's especially those big features. It's the last couple of years it seems to be changing a little bit, but in the past it looked like there was a certain speed you had to hit those and do those, and obviously you've got super good bike control. You're not just hanging on, um, so you get all the jumps really good and smooth and right, and then the race is kind of won in between, or the race you do well at the race in between the sections.
Yeah.
That the last couple of years, to me it's looked like they've been more of a full race run, other than there's only so fast you can go over certain features. But do you think it's a little bit like that? Whereas a World Cup run, to win a World Cup, you've literally got to be absolutely over your limit at every part of the track, really, haven't you?
Yeah, I think that's definitely part of it. You kind of got to link everything up right at hardline, and like you say, you used to be kind of limited a little bit by the speed, and you try and get over one feature, and then you try and get the next bit right. Then you've got the next feature, and then it was wet quite a lot of the time as well, which made them bits between the track way harder. And there was
Yeah,
a lot more between the jumps back, like in the first kind of 5-6 years of hardline. Um, a lot more techie rock drops and sketchy slippy slabs and stuff. So it was a little bit more, even in the dry, it was a bit more about your kind of bike controlling, your handling, kind of technical side of things, as
yeah,
well as linking jumps out. Whereas it's definitely moving towards that kind of high speed, flat out, top to bottom now. You can hit like the 100 footers. I remember like Bernard saying he thought he could gain a bit of time on them, on everyone else just hitting them faster than everyone else. And then you've got like that kind of steep drop at the top of the open section. And it seems like almost the faster you go, the smoother it is, as long as you can kind of control that speed into the big left at the bottom. It's only really probably the road gap now, to some extent, where you've got a limit, like a speed that you've got to hit it at.
yeah.
So it's definitely getting a bit closer. I'm watching Ronan's run this year
Mm.
and Bernard, and some of them guys, it looked like a World Cup, really. They were on the limit, top to
Yeah.
bottom.
And
So
for sure, I mean, what really, well, first of all, what's for you, what's the scariest feature there?
it probably is the road gap, I think, still a little bit.
Yeah,
Like, it's
I,
just the consequences of that thing. Like, it's actually one of the easiest jumps there, but once you kind of get onto the wood, you've already committed and you've just got to go off it. You've got
yeah,
a little off it, and it's a fine little details. You can go a little bit longer, or like just tiny bit short, and it doesn't take much to kind
yeah,
of change that. So yeah, probably that. The bigger jumps now, they're all quite straightforward and straight now. So you just go in as fast as you can and pull up, and unless there's wind affecting it a little bit, it's all
yeah, yeah,
somewhat the same. Yeah, I think the road cap for me.
yeah. No, I wouldn't do any of them, but the road jump, I'd be terrified of that thing. Definitely. I mean, it was super impressive seeing Johnny Walker do that on his motorbike.
Yeah, insane. Wasn't it? Apparently, he was stood up there for a long time. Like maybe one day didn't even do it. He had to go back the next day to do it.
But
But imagine trying to stop one of them things after you landed that.
well, I wouldn't be able to, but he's pretty handy on his motorbike, isn't he? But still impressive. Just that the weight of a motorbike trying to, like you say, trying to stop on that short run before the berm is crazy.
Yeah, for sure.
Um,
Him riding like the rocky bits before and after the road gap are more impressive, really.
yeah, 100%. But he's probably done similar things to that, that in Romaniacs and stuff like that. But going off that jump, whereas it's designed for your push bike to roll off, isn't it, and just pop. Whereas on a motorbike,
Little
you
throttle, yeah.
yeah. Anyway, and then what else was super impressive to me was Jackson Goldstone's first attempt at it last year.
Yeah.
That was pretty impressive. How did he sort of approach that week, and did he look nervous and stuff, or did he just kind of get on with it?
He was just, yeah, from what I remember, that was like 2022, wasn't it now? So he was, I remember him doing 4 runs pretty quickly, like before everyone else, and then doing quite a lot of them.
Yeah,
Uh, and he just looked comfortable. Like again, like what we were saying before, he's grown up in like bike parks and stuff, hasn't he? Really. Like I remember first time I kind of heard of Jackson, it was like him probably winning like the whip off at Crankworks or something in Whistler.
Yeah.
So his whole life's just been like bike parks and big jumps, and
Yeah.
so he's just naturally comfy on that stuff. Whereas some people, kind of myself included, you don't really ride really big jumps until you go there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hardline every year. A little bit more with the bike park at Dovey now. They've got some pretty big stuff, but it's a different style of jumping to what you do when you get to Hardline.
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, somewhat ready, but not all there. But Jackson, he's still junior at the time, but he so much confidence, I guess, coming in, winning so many races and having top times against everyone else already. And then that combined with being good at jumping, just loving life, and yeah, he was just on another level. Really, he smoked me. But
yeah, but you still did well, and yeah, I was obviously the last time I came was the year where you were up on the splits and then flipping clip your pedal on probably not the most simple part of the track, but the most a part of the track that I would even ride down, and a lot of people would, So, and I saw how I know how gutted you were there, and I was absolutely gutted for you. That you were definitely on a run there to possibly win that event. Is Have you still got the drive to want to win one? I mean, you've had a ton of podiums and top fives there. Is it still a big goal to win one of those?
I mean, being realistic, it's like hard. It seems harder and harder, especially like last year. Like again, with the track getting faster and faster and more kind of like a normal race now. Trying to compete against the guys who are racing World Cups every week is tough. But there's always a chance of rain there, and if it rains, that's when I feel like I can kind of level up a little bit. So ideally, but I don't want to set my sights too high.
Sure.
We'll see. Yeah, that year when you came, I was super upset. I felt like I think it was more once everyone told me I was on a good one. I felt like I was on a good one. I knew I was riding well that weekend, but we didn't get qualifying, I think, or no seeding run that year because of wind. So I didn't really have anything to gauge it off. But then when I come down and everyone was like, "Oh, you're on a mega one," and it just kind of hit home, and I was good, really good. But it's good to know I was riding well. That was kind of.
I mean, I wish you'd have won that. Obviously, you do, but you had the speed and the skills to do that. And one thing I really like about Hardline when I've been is like how stoked everyone is. I guess it's getting a bit like that at World Cups, but how stoked everyone is for everybody else to do well there.
Yeah.
I mean, the the cheers that all the other riders give you when you get down, because they all know how stressful the week has been and how dangerous it is.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool to see. I mean, the only person that I don't see as big a cheer for from everybody else is Bernard, and I don't know what's going on with everybody there, but Bernard seems, and I've got to say this, as I've got older, and what Bernard does, I think is so impressive. What he does in the sport, but Bernard always seems more confident than anybody else there. Is that why you think that the rest of the riders sometimes looks like they want somebody else to win, as opposed to Bernard? Obviously, when he does win, it's amazing. He's done an amazing job, and everyone's happy. But everyone seems to be just, hoping that somebody else wins it.
Yeah, I mean, firstly, I've got to say, like, fair play to Bernard. I wouldn't want to be the one testing out them jumps. Like,
Incredible.
Like most years now, he's there before the event doing a rundown to make sure it is doable.
Yeah.
these features out, and I'm not interested in that at all.
Oh,
He's
it's
put he's putting it all on the line really, so everyone else can have an event. And then now with the women going to the event, he's helping them out, and he helps everyone else a little bit during the week, kind of getting people through the track. But at the same time, he's won it quite a lot now, like 3 or 4 times. So it's the same with everything. Once somebody starts winning it all the time, you want somebody else to win, don't you?
yeah, of course,
So
yeah.
I think that's what it is as much as anything. And like you say, he is confident, and maybe that rubs off wrong on some people. Don't know.
Yeah, I don't even think he means to be cocky. He's just confident in his own ability.
He's always been like that since I've known him. He's always been confident and not really scared to show that. But that's worked for him, hasn't it? Like he's won a lot. He's still right at the top in the World Cups and stuff, and that confidence has got to be helping him with that. So
no, for sure.
I think it's just everyone. You always kind of you want the underdog to win, and sometimes it doesn't really matter who that is. But
yeah. I agree. And where do you see Hardline going? Obviously, last year they had 2 events. They had the one in Medina, and the one in Wales. Were you not interested in going to the Medina one?
I'd have loved to go, but with everything that was going on, it's kind of tough. We'd just had our second child as well. Without the budget from Vitas to go, the appearance fee would have probably just covered costs really, unless you were guaranteed to get the prize money. I wasn't hearing necessarily the best things about the track before it. It turned out that it looked amazing.
Yeah.
But it sounded like there was a few teething issues before the event with things changing the features and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I kind of once I was watching it, I was like, I really wish I was there.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm the same now watching a World Cup. I'm like, oh, I wish I was there, especially last week in the mud. But
you'd have been in Forte in that race last week.
Yeah, they're the one. Like when it's flat out and dry and dusty and like balls to the wall, I'm like not that interested. But if it's wet and sketchy, I'm like, oh yeah, get me there. But yeah, Medina, it would have been good fun. I'd love to go if they're going again, which I think they are again next year. I'd love to try and go to that one if I can get some budget to do it. But when you got a mortgage and bills and stuff to pay, sometimes you've got to think about these things. But I think the plan is to slowly build up to a few more rounds. So keep increasing it to have a few more rounds, make a proper series out of it. I don't think ever to try and take over from any other race series, just to have a different option for some of the races. Which is great for someone like me, maybe now not doing the World Cups. Help prolong my career a little bit. It definitely has for the last couple of years. The sponsors of mine, it's been a big part for them. So
and what have you, obviously it's, a lot of people say it's, the best downhill track in the world, especially it must be one of the best too for televising, and it's definitely incredibly challenging. But is it a bigger buzz and achievement and something that you want to do more than racing World Cup downhill, or is it different?
It's definitely different. I think the buzz when you get to the end of that week and you complete a week at Hardline, you're so stoked, but it's so stressful in that moment, and it's stress in a different manner, I think, to a World Cup, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're kind of scared of, or I'm me. I don't know if someone like Bernard's the same, but I'm scared of a lot of the features. Trying to line them up and get that run done, and then that feeling at the end of that was like really hard to match. Whereas a World Cup's just your typical race that I'd kind of grown up doing to some extent, just at the top level. It's been a few years since I've done a World Cup. I'm sure it feels a bit different now. It looks like it's super rushed now, the weeks. At World Cup, there's not much time to think. So, for me, I love the feeling of doing the hard line and getting through that week. So if there's a few more of them to get that buzz from, I'd jump at the opportunity.
Cool. And obviously it's, you've got to have a certain venue and a huge crew to build those tracks. Do you think it'll end up being like a World Series where they're all over the world? Is that the sort of hope?
I think the plan is, yeah, to have a few all over the world. Like we had a meeting a few years ago, and they were like asking where we'd want to go. I don't know if it'd be some like kind of exotic locations, but it's an expensive event to run, I think.
Yeah.
I've heard, so it's got to be justifiable. Someone like Red Bull, they've got to see the benefit in doing it, and the revenue, and the locations are a little bit limited because of that. It doesn't make sense from a business point of view from Red Bull necessarily in some locations around the world. But it'd be cool to see someone like you'd imagine that somewhere in Canada could have an amazing one.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Or, you know, I'd love to go to somewhere like Japan or something like that.
Yeah.
But I don't know if Red Bull's got a huge market over in somewhere like Japan or not. So, but yeah, I think me personally, I can't see it ever being like an 8-round series or something like that, especially to keep it kind of core to what Hardline is, where it is this quite dangerous, huge, impressive jumps. I think if you have too many rounds, it might end up watering it down a little bit. Yeah. That makes sense, just so people can kind of get through the whole series. But maybe like 4 rounds or something could be doable, and whether they'd try and do them all in one block or I don't know. Depends where the teams want the big riders to go a little bit as well, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. And if it was to go down that road and there was to be a sort of Hardline World Series, do you know are the current downhill bikes the right tool for the job? Obviously you have to pump your suspension up and probably put more air pressure in your tires for the big jumps, but do you think they'd become specialist hardline downhill bikes, or do you think that just a World Cup downhill bike with those adjustments is the right bike for it?
Yeah, I think like a normal downhill bike, pretty much. To be honest, compared to when I started doing hardline to like the last years I've done it, my bike's so much closer now to how I'd ride a normal downhill track than it was at the start. I think that's because the jumps are getting bigger, but like mellower now.
Yeah.
And they're kind of in a straight line. They're not weird, like hipped, like bold takeoffs and stuff where if you had soft tires and soft suspension and stuff, your tires were squirming off the lips and sending you funny. Whereas now you've got like these fast downhill bits where you want your bike, I'm guessing, to work like it would at a World Cup. Mm-hmm. Because the jumps are still, I'm sure there's minor changes that you're doing, and the guys with like the teams behind them can probably change them a little bit more because they know what they're doing a little bit more, just specific little things.
Yeah.
I think to keep it as a race and what hardline, as long as it doesn't move too much towards like a free ride kind of style event, like an exhibition, as long as they've got hard downhill bits between, and you want a predominantly downhill orientated bike, really.
Yeah,
sure. Just small little tweaks.
Yeah, and yeah, because obviously the guys that end up winning the event are always the World Cup guys. You know, you've got quite a few free ride guys going that are, you know, look super comfortable and stylish on the jumps, but they don't have that pace of the World Cup guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.